Are you at a crossroads with your bank? With ClickSwitch, find and move your recurring transactions to Amplify Credit Union in just 90 seconds. That's less time than it takes to cross Congress Avenue. Make the switch to fee-free banking and never pay another bank fee again with ClickSwitch from Amplify Credit Union.
Fast forward a few years, I was living in New York for 5 years, and I just realized that I was so unhappy, and like it was so internal. Externally, I looked like I had this like amazing life, like, you know, great career, you know, amazing friends, like didn't have to work a lot, expendable income, like, and I was so unfulfilled in life.
Hi, my name is Mindy Hofman, and welcome to the Women of Austin podcast. Today we have my friend and third-time guest, Heather Emerson. Heather, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
So you are amazing because last minute you filled in, so we're just going to kind of wing it. We were talking on the phone yesterday, and you made a joke and said, well, if anyone ever has to cancel last minute, I can help you out. And I'm going to call you like 45 minutes later.
Yeah, you said that you jinxed it, but I think I might have jinxed it. Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, hey, you know, well, here I was meant to be.
Yeah, totally.
So when we were talking about what a good topic could be 3 minutes ago, I realized that you have gone through a lot of major changes in your life.
Yeah.
Just from, I mean, I just overheard you telling Anthony that you lived in Tel Aviv.
Yes.
Like, what?
Yes.
Okay, so you grew up in Texas.
Yes. Okay. I should clarify that. I lived for a few months in Tel Aviv while I was backpacking around the world because I suddenly left New York and didn't know what I wanted to do with my life and went on an Eat, Pray, Love tour with myself.
How did I not know that?
Yeah.
Really?
So sorry, but yeah.
No, that's living there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I lived there. I say that because like I didn't stay in a hotel. Like I had like a little unit, and I worked at a local hostel and extended my visa a few times until I couldn't anymore, and that's why I had to leave. But yes, I was supposed to stay for a weekend, and I ended up being there for months because if you've ever been to Tel Aviv, you would know it is amazing. I would live there, and I would like permanently move my life to Tel Aviv. It's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And nobody really knows, right? Because it's kind of a tiny country and it's a tiny city, you know, in the country. And so, yes. Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay. So how did you get the courage to go do that trip? What?
Yeah. So I think
Let's
back it up. Let's back it up, right? So I graduated college, moved to New York, and I moved to New York. I chose that city because I knew that I needed to get over a lot of my fears. Like I had fears around, like I had a lot of attachment to physical things. Like I still have a little bit of a hoarding tendency, but I organize it all. So that's how I justify it. But yeah, like, you know, I was like, oh my God, you can't have a lot of stuff in New York. You can't have a car. You have to depend on public transit, aka not depend on yourself. And I was terrified of doing that. So I was like, well, I need to learn how to do that because I can't live just alone by myself, doing everything myself. So I purposely chose New York to learn how to live more free, like just free from attachment. I was trying to you read Buddhism is about like releasing attachment. And so I was like, okay, in order for me to really conquer this, I need to like make myself do it, right? Like for example, when you're trying to like cut out a certain food group or go on a diet, you have to like remove those things from your house. You have to clean your house of those things, or you're going to like, you know, it's habits, it's life changes. Habit change is like one of the hardest things ever. So anyways, I moved to New York, lived in a tiny little studio in Manhattan. sold my car, all the things. And I got kind of dropped into the entrepreneur community in New York. Not like super intense, but just like a lot of people from Texas that happen to be entrepreneurs. And I was like fascinated. One guy who's still very much a dear friend to me, his name's Chris. Chris told me like, oh yeah, I decided to book a 2-week trip backpacking in Europe. And I can't remember the reason why. It was like to celebrate something and I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Because like, again, this is like, I'm from a small town. Everybody drives, nobody walks, nobody rides their bike to work or anything. Like very like small town, you have to drive, you have to do it this way. So I was already in New York. I was already like, this is a different lifestyle. What do you mean you just picked up and like did a 2-week backpacking through Europe? And he told me, he's like, I did this city, I did this city, I did this city. I stayed in hostels. I took the train. I went on, there's a website, I don't know if it still exists, called couch surfing. I think that's what he did. I think he couch surfed.
Oh.
So yeah, it's like, you go on and you like, kind of like Airbnb, except you're trying to stay for free. So, anyways, I was fascinated by this and I thought, I'm going to do this. I'm going to backpack and couch surf. So I did. And so that's when I got kind of a taste for what it would be like to be free and like free. Like you're not lugging around a bunch of luggage. You're not like staying anywhere. You basically just have kind of what you have on your body and you like kind of let the day take you. I know that does not sound very wild at all to some people, but that was wild to me, like jaw on the floor. So got a little taste and then fast forward a few years, I was living in New York for 5 years and I just realized that I was so unhappy and like it was so internal. Externally, I looked like I had this like amazing life, like, you know, great career, you know, amazing friends, like didn't have to work a lot, expendable income, like, and I was so unfulfilled in life. And this is actually why this is kind of the start of the food business that I started a few years later. But, you know, like realizing that I'm a human that needs in like very deep rooted purpose. Like everybody has their why, right? Like everybody has their why. But for me, it wasn't about like, for me, it was like, I need to change. I need to like leave a mark in some way. That's what I came to realize in New York. But I didn't realize that until after backpacking. I just knew I wasn't happy and I didn't know how to get happy. I was crying and I didn't know why. And so I literally walked into work one day and accidentally quit. Not making this up. I literally, my manager was saying something that I didn't like and he was a nice guy. And I was like, this will be my last day.
It just came out.
It freaking came out of my mouth. Like it came out so like, I call it projectile vomit. You know, when you like accidentally throw up, that's like what happened. I accidentally threw up words that made me leave my job. I walked out for my lunch break. I called my friend and said, I think I just quit my job. And she was like so happy. She was an entrepreneur. And I was like, she was also a chiropractor. I'm like, I'm coming to get an adjustment. Walked across Central Park and got an adjustment. And anyways, I spent that weekend in New York doing nothing. No obligations. My apartment was a mess. Didn't care. Went out with my friends. Stayed out all night. Didn't care. I came back on Monday, looked around my little, out of 1 bedroom now, upgraded. Whoop, whoop. And I looked around and I was like, all right, let's get busy. Cleaned it up. Well, I had a cleaning fairy come.
Yes.
And I helped her. Cleaned it up on a whim, took some photos, put it on Airbnb, put my phone down. Like an hour later, I had my apartment booked out for 3 months.
Wow.
Not kidding.
Talking about meant to be.
Yeah. And I was like, I looked at my list of things that I had written down that I wanted to do that I felt like I couldn't because of my job or my other obligations. And first thing was like, go spend a week with your family in Texas for no reason, like not a holiday, not a wedding, like just go and be. So booked a trip home because now I had the income, because not only did the Airbnb cover my apartment, it gave me income. Nice. I was like, okay. And came back to Texas, stayed for a couple months, regrouped, made some money, and then decided that I'm just going to backpack. And I backpacked for 7 months. I started my trip for a weekend in Israel. And like I said, I extended that for months. And Israel is quite possibly one of the most special places on this planet. You have basically 3 different religions that own or claim it as their, it's not Mecca, but something like it's a holy land for 3 different religions, right? So you have just so many blessings on one land, and you feel it. Like, so it was a very spiritual thing for me to be there, and the food, beach, and sunshine didn't hurt as well.
Yes.
The food's like, it's the best food I've ever had, Mediterranean, all the things. People were amazing. Just cried on the beach, prayed on the beach, learned a new culture, learned a new language, it was just like, I need to cut all ties of what I thought life should be like and just be and figure out what's important to me. And at the end of that trip, I realized that the lifestyle that I built in New York, while it was absolutely fabulous, a lot of my value systems were misaligned. And I got centered, and I came home, begrudgingly. I got sick and I had to come home, started grad school. And then I met my husband the first day of grad school. So yeah. So like, that's kind of my story. Like, I feel like,
wow,
that, I did the dating slog in New York and like basically felt like a piece of crap, because that's what it feels like when you're trying to find your person and nobody chooses you, it just feels bad. But I mean, I'm glad they didn't choose me. I was misaligned, right? So the trip really got me into alignment. I spent most of my time in Israel, and then Thailand was the other portion of my trip that was really intense. And I did yoga in every single country, like intense everyday yoga. So that was my, sweat it out. Sweat out all the bad juju.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Do you still do yoga like that? Or not like that, but...
So it's Ashtanga. Have you heard of Ashtanga? Mm-mm. It's a little extreme. Imagine that, me extreme.
Yeah.
So I don't really subscribe to that anymore. And no, I don't do yoga anymore. But it was good. Like, for that portion of my life, it gave me like, it's like, I'm not going to work. I'm not doing like daily routine. Like, it was kind of a way to set like a heartbeat of my life.
Literally.
It was like, so really good for your nervous system, really good for your breathing. So it really like stabilized me on the trip.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's how I ended up in Tel Aviv. And that's why I have like such a soft spot in my heart for that part of the world. And I would be really careless for me to say that we should all be praying for that part of the world right now, both sides. My story to people who want to make changes and want to do really great things in their life is you can do it with softness. You can do all of those things without that armor that I wore for so long.
Women of Austin would like to thank our community sponsors. Dave's Ultimate Automotive. With 6 locations, there's sure to be a Dave's near you. Joel Richardson and team, your Austin mortgage lenders. MyFinanceTeam.com. Warren Callion Maddox, a proud women and minority-owned law firm. WarrenCallion.com. You've made all those changes. And then how'd you end up in Austin?
Well,
So we have you in
the map.
Yeah. After the world tour.
After the world tour, actually, what did I do? Yeah, I came home to get better, right?
Yeah.
And my parents were like so kind. Like they didn't tell me that I needed to leave, but like I was totally wearing out my welcome. Like I think I felt that. I don't know. They probably did. They were probably tired of me too, but I was tired of being in my home, this small town that I grew up in. Like I was like, no, we're not.
And you've just been in New York and seen the world.
Yeah.
And like.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, family. So I went to Austin, and I had been here for undergrad. I went to undergrad at UT, so it wasn't like I knew the city. Yeah. So yeah, I got an apartment in Austin, and it was kind of awesome because I would split my time between New York and Austin. So when that apartment wasn't full, I would Airbnb, you know, and I was able to fly back and forth because I always thought I was returning to New York. I always thought, I was like, oh, I'll just get an apartment for a year, realign. Yeah. Well, then let's add some more confusion in it. I actually started grad school in Boston.
Oh.
So, and that's where I met my husband.
Oh, that's right.
And so I spent the summer in Boston and met him, and he was living in Dubai. I know we were like all over the place, but he had flown into Boston to do just like a summer course. Like it wasn't like a big deal. And I was like,
Harvard, no big deal.
oh, yes. I was at Harvard, Cambridge, which is different than Boston. Cambridge is like this, like, I don't know, it's like frozen in time. They still have the same brick streets that they had, I don't know, 100 years ago. It's insane. So yeah, we met there and we thought, okay, he's always been an entrepreneur. I was like slowly leaning into entrepreneurship. I was not, now I know I'm an entrepreneur.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I'm a total entrepreneur.
Yes.
But I didn't know that until I was an adult. Because that's not what they teach you in school.
True. That's
like
true.
we're not taught that. Even in college, we're not taught to be entrepreneurs. Even business school, they teach you, these skills to plug into an existing entity, not to create your own. Mm-hmm. And that works for most people. It wasn't working for me. So I was like so starry-eyed over my husband because I'm like, wow, you're so brave. He's like in his 30s. He has never had a job. He's never had a job. He's only been an entrepreneur.
Wow.
Like literally even like
not even like scooping ice cream in high school
no,
or whatever.
No. He's always been like studying how he's going to build his business.
Oh, amazing.
From 14 years old on YouTube. Like he's like that kind of, he's like, so I was always like, I was very starry-eyed over him. And so he, it's like, okay, well, I have I live in the States, you live in Dubai. We want to be together. Which city do we choose? Obviously, New York's the city, right? Like you choose New York.
Yeah.
But not when you're starting a business. You can't live in New York.
Oh, yeah.
You have to have income. Mm-hmm. Right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, you have to have income anywhere, but like cost of living is
insane.
Way cheaper here at the time. Not anymore.
Oh, yeah,
it's
right.
the same now. Same as New York now. But this was, almost 10 years ago. So we chose Austin. And it made sense because he has family in Houston. So it just made sense. Like, okay, let's try to set roots in Texas. So that is how we chose Austin. I already had the apartment, temporary apartment. Mm-hmm. We were like, okay, what are we gonna do? And we chose Austin together. So that's how we got that.
I love that. I'm actually in Austin also because my ex-husband, him and his business partners were looking for somewhere to start a new business, and this was the city, and that was like 8 years ago.
Yep.
So
what year was that? 2016?
Let's see. Yeah. Yep.
I think that's when we moved here.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like I'm like cute, like things like that with my friends. I'm like, oh, we're so cute. We're here at the same time.
Yeah, that's when I was here prior for school and I grew up really close to Austin, so it's already had some familiarity. But Yeah, 2016. I feel like that was a year where things were just starting, like people were catching on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now the whole world knows that Austin is amazing.
Yes. I lived in New York too, and it was a nice, like, in between, because I grew up in California, lived in New York, and then ended up in the middle, and I like it here.
So everything that I missed about New York, I missed the luxury, the fancy. It's all here now.
Oh, that's so true.
It's all here.
I was just telling someone, like, I had a fancy bag when I moved here, and I ended up selling it because I'm like, nobody wears the bags anymore. And now I'm out, like, walking around. I'm like, wait, everyone has, like,
it's
designer
here.
bags. It used to be like, oh, like, no one had them, and I would feel uncomfortable carrying it. And
yes.
Yeah. Oh, it's here.
It's here.
Yeah.
And it started popping up in 2019. And I was like, oh my God, Equinox.
Yes.
Oh my God, Soho House.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And all the people who've been here who have not lived in New York were like, get out of here.
Ew,
like
Equinox.
they weren't.
Ew, Soho
yeah.
House.
And I'm like, yes. And so that was how I got over New York. Like, I don't need it anymore. It's here.
I totally agree.
Yeah. So.
Oh, that's great. I love that. Okay, so we only have a few more minutes left.
Yeah.
But so we talked about, and I know there's so much more, but your incredible experience and your journey and your bravery. So is there anything that you would say to somebody who's listening or even to the small town girl who had the courage to leave and have this fabulous life where you're still traveling and still starting new businesses and still exploring and learning and changing? And I just admire it so much. So is there anything you would say to encourage any of our listeners who are thinking about making a change?
Yes, I have a story for that. But you mentioned something about bravery.
Yes.
And I just want to tell you a funny little story. So my name is Heather Emerson, and Heather in Urdu or Hindi is a male's name. I think it's Heather. Heather. I don't know how to say it, but if you're listening and you speak that language, you can maybe send me a voice note on how to pronounce that. But anyways, it means brave. And my last name, Emerson, German origin, means brave. And so my husband says, one brave is brave, two braves is dumb. So I just want to tell you, like, there's a very close proximity to brave and dumb, right? Like, you're brave if you do that cliff jump, but if you hurt yourself, then you were dumb, right? So I am very brave. But now when people tell me I'm brave, I kind of cringe because I'm a little dumb too.
I noticed you did cringe when I said that.
Yes.
I was like, what?
Yes. I was like, no, not brave. And I also wore that word as kind of armor for a while. Like, I'm brave, I'm strong. And I think that my story to people who want to make changes and want to do really great things in their life is you can do it with softness. You can do all of those things without that armor that I wore for so long. That's number one. And number two, there's a quote that I heard that actually was one of the reasons I left New York. I was listening to a romance novel on audiobook, and the author, so it's a woman author, and she's reading, and in the book they're quoting, I can't say the name, it starts with a G, but the phrase was leap and the net will appear. And I was walking my dogs or walking around my neighborhood, and I was like, I had to rewind it because I saw this image of me jumping off the side of a New York building and a net appearing and catching me. And I was like, it stopped me in my tracks. And it made me realize that in anything, like, nothing in life is guaranteed. Like, one step forward and something bad could happen, but we trust that our foot is going to catch us, right? We trust that. And so to anybody who wants to make a big change in their life, you have to trust that the net will appear, because it will. Like, I had no plan to leave New York. And then that Monday, like 3 days after accidentally quitting my job, I put it on Airbnb, and look, and like, here we are, right? Like it rented out for my place rented out for years after that. And, I finally let go of it. But the point is, like, if you feel something and you see yourself you want to make a change, just trust that net is there, because the universe has your back. There's a book about that, right?
Yeah.
It's got your back. And this is really good for type A control freaks. Hello. We're not in control. It's all an illusion. So that's what I would say you can do all of those things. You can trust, and you can do it with softness. And yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Well, real quick, your new business.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us just a little bit about your newest entrepreneurial journey? We got like your elevator pitch.
My elevator pitch is, I started a company called Offshore Launch, and we help find virtual admin roles overseas for pennies on the dollar. So right now I'm helping a lot of small businesses find their perfect dream VA. And they are so thankful, because there's two things in business that you want to do. You want to obviously lower your costs, and you want to increase your output or your impact. And so by learning the art of delegation, hiring a virtual assistant for pennies on the dollar, you actually get to exponentially grow yourself, because you have more time to think instead of being in the weeds. And your business obviously grows with you. So so many full circle moments there with that. But it's been very, 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 very rewarding. I'm like literally helping like plumbers and HVACs, like people who just work so hard to keep our society working.
Yeah.
And they need support. And it's so rewarding. I'm like, so fulfilled.
Well, I'll put the link to your website and your personal Instagram too, so people can follow along. And
it's under construction, but yes.
Yes. But I like that. I
Okay.
like that. Again, you're changing,
Yeah.
evolving, changing, all the beautiful things that I love. Thank you, friend, for filling in last minute. This was an amazing chat, and I just really appreciate you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yay.
You're amazing.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Women of Austin podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. For the latest on our events and to join our vibrant member community, head over to womenofaustin.com. We'll see you next time here on the Women of Austin podcast.